international events in a very long time.
I mean, if gladiators want to be known as
North
a team
America?
that dominate your... Again? Not really necessary.
No, I already raged once at them. I will not do it again.
Yeah, I mean, for
gotta go work
gladiators, for gladiators on a more serious note, if you want to be known as a team that dominates Europe, I think that this is enough. But do you really want to be the team that just dominates your region and then you do pretty much nothing, reaching PMWI, reaching PMG? Not what they want to do, but unfortunately, if you don't change how you approach the game, how you approach these different lobbies at this scale, you're always going to be...
मेरा guys is back. Guys, TCPS. Firefox. ESL. ओ भाई Mr. Z.
Comes down to the whole region being able to adapt to.
Yeah, you got to have two different skill sets to be able to win in what it takes in your region and be able to win what it takes at a national event. But I love how you brought up Brazil, Because luckily for us, Hot Jukes, he was done casting. You know what he did? Went straight over to talk to us about Alpha 7. So let's listen in. When we come back, we'll hopefully have our 4th match of the day ready.
Now, of course, how can we start this tournament off without talking about one of the most decorated teams in PUBG Mobile history, Alpha 7 Esports. This squad coming straight from Brazil has absolutely dominated the scene. Now, coming into PMWI, we figured this was going to be a team in the top 3, and that is why they're currently sitting in 3rd place. I got a chance to talk to their coach yesterday, and they told me that he was just shocked at the performances that he's seen for some of these squads. It has been absolute ridiculousness from the get-go. But when this squad gets in that open field and they know what's ahead of them, they're nearly unstoppable. The only team so far to actually touch them is Vampire Esports, and they have a long road if they want to catch them, because going into this tournament, PMWI was what they were looking to get. They wanted that belt around them, and I know they're hungry for it. So if that is something that they still want to achieve, they have to come into today with the ferocity that we saw in this match here. Just hitting shots like crazy. Rebel, absolutely untouched. And this nade here from Senadexa, a solid play. But the big struggle that Alpha 7 keeps having is they keep losing players early on. It's on to all 4 towards the end, find a position where they just see everybody ahead of them. This is definitely a team that can compete.
Interesting stuff here out of Hot Jukes. Thank you so much for that. As we can take a look at Alpha 7 and their stats across the day and averages. And I mean, honestly, those aren't really bad averages. Like you take that back to Brazil, and I think they'd actually obviously average more there, but those aren't terrible. And considering they're in 3rd place, you can see why.
Yeah, I mean, when you're anywhere above 5 average eliminations, I think it's fair to say here, 7, that is some really solid stats to have, and they're always making it to the late game too. Like, above 20-minute average survival time is really solid from this team. It's just, as Hodrix did mention, sometimes a little bit split, sometimes losing players. If we see them in the late game as 3-4-man teams, they can wrap up games. We've seen it so many times, but now more than ever before, they need to make in those late games to secure those wins.
Yeah, and something that we have been hinting at is not just 1 or 2 players, it's about the whole squad, right? And we're starting to see that now out of Mafioso, and this is for the day too. Mafioso being able to put up the 8 ilms. My player to watch, the one I talked about earlier, Carrillo, 2 ilms. That is just not going to be enough for me. That I want to see more out of him, especially with what I know that he's capable of. I don't know, if they continue to be like this, I don't see them being in the top 3, honestly.
Yeah, and we saw them go back to that kind of playoff Carrillo being sent out in those dangerous positions. A bit risky, so we want to see him back in that safe position where you know he's not going to get taken out early.
And if they are going to be aggressive, fully commit to it. Don't back out
also.
Last second. What was it, Tiamba at one point against they won against Alter Ego. Don't pull a Tiamba back then.
I swear, every time I hear this song, I'm gonna get PTSD. Now I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the night like, are we going to the game? Is it happening? Looks like we're gonna be loading in shortly here. As you can see, they're about to load into the playing, which means we're about to load into our commentators, which is a very odd saying. But I do want to get your predictions out of you two, since we're going into our last air angle of the day. You had D+, they didn't do too well. You had Alpha 7, it was okay.
Stop!
Oh.
I threw my cue card away. They're gonna win it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know who 7's gonna pick.
Which one?
Vampire.
No.
Who are you going for?
Alter Ego.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's throw it over to our commentators. It's John and Blank to close out the day.
3 more matches to go, Blank, here today. The final day of the PMWI. It has been a journey. Vampire have been at the head of this train for a long time. But the first games of today haven't been the most stellar for them.
No, and I think realistically, it's okay that they take a break.
That's true.
They slow things down slightly. Ravenclaw also picking up those 9 points last game. Marangle basically just setting the phone down on the table and just waiting things out. It worked out fantastically well. 9 points, you can't turn your nose for that, to be honest. And for Vampire, as even Defi said over on the stage, it's so hard to catch up to them. Most teams are now looking at 2nd place. I think the desk even pointed out that the spacing between 4th and 10th right now is around about 10 points. So the amount that can change in the next 3 matches is humongous, and it's a lot of money in between those positions. It's a huge amount of money in between those positions.
4th place in this final tournament worth 100k, Blank. And then you drop that down into the 40s as you go towards that sort of 10th place. So it is a big jump. 60 sort of. in the region of 60 grand, which is a phenomenal amount of money for a 10-point gap. We'll have to wait and see who's going to be able to shuffle themselves to the top of the deck. The playing path sits on the west of Erangel for our third helping of the map today. The circle, though, goes a little bit further east. Not quite as far east as we saw earlier today, but still on the eastern lean.
Towards farm as well, Hill, cheeky around this area, Twisted Minds picking up that position nice and early. Stalwart heading over towards Novo. Slow rotations out of this team that worked about 2 years ago doesn't work as well anymore, so they're going to have to adjust on that side. At least this circle is towards their area of the map where they start in Novo, so getting that early rotation in shouldn't be as difficult. They certainly have tried to speed things up in the previous matches of today, which has gained them some more points, right? They're getting towards the end game a lot more, which is nice to see, and that's going to be really, really good news for them, just in terms of points alone. Currently in 5th place with 87 points. That's fantastic news for them, fantastic news for you guys at home that I'm delivering straight to your doorstep is the 2023 PMWI crate, which is only available through from July 15th to August 15th to the August 15th.
The one
it's a day to remember, basically.
Absolutely.
So make sure you get your hands on some of those bad boys.
Might be a sad day because it'll be the last day of the crate, but definitely one you do not want to let slip your mind. Heading into this game, we're on board with Alter Ego right now. They're just skirting around near the farm area, just near Potato Hill as well, grabbing those vehicles, getting looted up nice and early. Central on the circle, 2-2 split right now. Falcon close by on the south side of Potato Hill, playing as 4. Fewer vehicles available to them, but they'll be able to grab a couple more on these roadsides. By to Alter Ego, actually. Could see a little bit of a scuffle. Shots coming out from Alter Ego and returned, but it's Fnatic to deal the first blow. And that's a really solid knock. Potato might just try and roll this one over, but Fnatic's running up with that M16. The turnaround from Falcons. They want to try and re-engage on this, and in fact they will find Octa. Going 1-to-1 right now on the trade. Axa falls second. But they are, again, trading back and forth between these two rosters. Falcons have lost the third. There's the first flush coming through, and Rosemary's moving up to the buggy, looking for this res potentially onto Fnatic to get them back into fighting form.
Rosemary, though, he's a greedy player. This guy will immediately go for a little bit more action. Potato will run down King, confirm that one, with only a micro Uzi as well as a pistol. Rosemary will confirm it. After all, the Infinity IQ underneath them just rock up. Looks like Rosemary, again, is going to go for some more eliminations. He does not care about the rescues whatsoever. This guy's all about the frags. The Ferrari's behind.
Protecting Potato from the roll-up of Zoom to control the tree, but it will not go his way. Bensu now, with a turn of attention over to Potato, will be able to keep his team from falling down all the way, but Teek's still around the corner. Blank, that was not great news for Alter Ego. We talked about how volatile that 4th through 10th place is. And if you're going like this in the 16th match of an 18-match set, it is very, very bad news. Those teams around you will eat up that gap.
Yeah, there's certainly a chance there for a reset on the engagement to go for some of those reses. Unfortunately, Rosemary was just way too fixated on getting those eliminations. And he did look very slick in the process. Very, very cool, pulling on the sunglasses and then just rotating 360, unleashing bullets everywhere, getting a fair few knocks in the process. I don't think Infinity IQ expected such a defense coming out from that team there. Alpha 7 though on your screen, 5 average eliminations. As Max said on the desk there, if you are averaging 5 eliminations, you are just good, right? That is a brilliant place to be. Anything above 5 eliminations is kind of like that outlier stage of things where you have absolutely blasted out of your mind in this tournament. And Alpha 7 are looking to regain that 2nd place spot. Very
क्या करे पापा जी? किसके में? STE. थर्ड पर रह सकते हैं STE. फोर्थ प्लेस पर रह सकती है क्या हो गया तुमको? ये नेक्स्ट क्या हो रहा है भाई? और ऑनेस्टली हो गई STE. चल चल बाकी उनकी साइड से है भाई अब तो. इस सर का एप्स यही है आरज़ू. अच्छा ऊपर मार बॉक्सी हाइड हो गई. वाह 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 क्या मारा उन्होंने भाई. दो रख दिया उन्होंने. अलग नहीं मार रहे भाई. फिनिश 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 फिनिश. बढ़िया खेली भाई. 3 नॉक दे दिए. ऑलमोस्ट डेड था ये भी. ऑलमोस्ट डेड था. ST पार्टी करके ये करती है ऐसे. काम क्या रहा है वैसे. कभी ना लौट कर आऊं. काम से ऊपर गया है. be ill. Nice. 9.9. Rotational fight. 500 होने की. Okay. We are asleep. Nice. Asleep. Alpha 7 is still at 4.91 million top 5. You never got any point. Over 7. अंदाज तेरा सबसे ज्यादा कीमत इनने आवाज वो करी है ना और वो तुम्हारे फोन में असिस्टेंट ऑन हुआ यार फर्स्ट टाइम आ रहे हो तो लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब कर दो यार सब्सक्राइब जरूर दबा के जाना और फर्स्ट टाइम चैनल पर आ रहे हो तो सब्सक्राइब दबा के जाना भाई हाया नाम है तो जॉब कर ही सकते हो भाई फर्स्ट टाइम आए तो यहाँ पे हाया ना करके जाना फर्स्ट टाइम है या रेगुलर हो सब्सक्राइब हो गया फर्स्ट टाइम आ रहे हो लाइक सब्सक्राइब तो लाइक कर देना अगर फर्स्ट टाइम आ रहे हो तो सब्सक्राइब और लाइक दोनों करके जाना कमेंट भी ड्रॉप करके जाना अपना एक पॉइंट drop your name here bro something goes wrong don't have any ATC go P ड्रॉप कर दो यार नाम तो ड्रॉप कर दो अपना फर्स्ट टाइम है तो नाम ड्रॉप करो भाई नाम ड्रॉप करके जाओ अगर फर्स्ट टाइम हो तो
They had a difficult push to make, so good news to probably survive with 2 at this stage for
हो
them.
जाए ना कहीं
Yeah, a lot of times for Gladiators, I think Max was talking about as well, is that they kind of overextend over towards the blue instead of just going for the obvious decision. I think in this particular circle, they haven't moved out too far. They take a strong spot on this ridge side, looking down towards that slope that goes towards those 2 incredible compounds that I identified earlier on. This is very smart play from Gladiators, and it's weird the way they have these topsy-turvy games of just smart things happening and going back to something that's a little bit more awkward. Trong's in is going to really struggle here regardless. The blue will most likely take him down, but this is good. They've sweeped out the majority of the eastern side. It was always going to be a tough game, but the amount of points they keep getting here, their run towards second place is now opening a bit further with both second and third place out of the game. This is probably their most important match of the day.
D plus Kia, what a shift for them on the northern side. They've got that outpost with Saden on the north. They can regroup Forest and Fabian over towards that direction. DRS with their Lone Ranger rules can stay on the north side of the compound, and Geeke gonna have to fend off both Kiamba and Gladiators unless there's those wide swings coming through. We'll see if Gladiators are gonna go back to that sweeping style that they have held so firmly, sometimes to their detriment too, in these last couple of games.
Yeah, right now, Rules' position completely accessible to the Gladiators. If they go for a quick crash here and don't get too shot out by a lot of these other teams, that is certainly a possibility for them. Will require some smokes to get there and probably a further northern wrap to push in towards it. But for the Gladiators, yes, there's been some complicated solutions to some simple problems. And I think that's something that's coming in quite detrimental to the team at the moment. I think that they realistically need to maybe work on that in future because I think they have made things a little bit harder than it needs to be. Again, we're heading down towards Tiamba now to sweep out this team. I still think there's an opportunity where you just let Tiamba get taken out by Geekay and push further into the game, potentially getting more eliminations. But I think they're so cognizant of the fact that they are still a little bit far behind and 10th place is so close. If they can confirm these eliminations now and get that on board, that might be better for their overall run.
Vampire, we're going to wind up and figure out their path forwards because this is not an easy push. What cover do they have to play around? Nothing really. I mean, they've got the smokes, they've laid the groundwork. Now it's time to move forwards. This dip will be in the next circle, so they can hold here for a little bit. Try and wait for those teams on the east to burn themselves out.
Yeah, just basically pushing from trench to trench here with the smokes available. Very well coordinated, and it feels like a lot of teams aren't really looking towards it. This is the play that I mentioned earlier on, and when they have to go for this type of smoke train, not easy to pull off. So a lot of smokes on the top side to try and keep that back. But with Tiamba pushing in towards Geekay, it provides a great opportunity now for Gladiators to instantly send towards DRS's position. They know that they took out the majority of the teams that came through here, so this has to be a team that is fairly weakened. Geekay would rather hold on to these warehouses, the longhouses on this side. So this is the building they take. Very, very intelligent. And this is probably one of the first successful crashes we've seen in a long time because they've gone for a good setup.
Don't speak too soon though, there's nades in play and Gladiators are a little bit grouped here. A nade dropped down the stairs from Rules. There's cross shots as well coming through from Geekay. Meku looking to cook one of his own, spots the ankles, will be dispatched. They are knocked down, but D plus Kia looking to maybe take some shots from that northern side. Geekay will absolutely take the shots if they can. Both of these teams firmly in the circle. Tiamba now looking to crash in. You can see the smokes train established here. 4 players alive, and in they go. Over out to the right, followed by Tianyu. YDD takes a lot of damage from a nade, but Tianyu goes down first as well. Putting them out the back door here. Geekay hold off the first wave of the push. But there's still more yet to come as Vampire crest the ridgeline off their cover and make their way across the field with the undulations their only cover.
Spotting out one of the players from Gladiators as well through the window. They'll have to spend time on that res. But that was a very well-timed push coming through from Gladiators. It looks much more akin to what we're used to from them back in the European region. Oh, beautiful nade through the window from YDD to open things up. It has gone very poorly at the start here. Tiamba tries to repel and rally themselves back into the building. All the while, Vampire is getting free reign of the circle on the western side because all of these teams are occupied with one another at the moment.
You can see the minute riches in those fields that they're going to have to be playing around here. Blank smokes will be their only cover. Vehicles if they're lucky. Shots from Tiamba moving them back on in, and Satan trapped in the corner, burning behind the fire. Has to try and keep his feet nice and cool. Tiamba down to 2. Geekay similarly dispatched, dismantled, maybe another knock sent their way. And the flash comes through. Ground floor occupied, but so is the attic. Kitsune once more.
This is an interesting play coming from Gladiators. I think that they realise this fight has gone on for far too long. So it must be just dregs of teams remaining. In the meantime, Fakians actually managed to send a scout themselves down towards the south side on the north edge of Gladiators' compound, which D plus Kia could most likely return to later on if they can't actually deal with Vampires, who are ripping them to pieces on the top side, and it's Ravenclaw to do that.
These rocks, these hay bales, lifelines in the field, out in the open for Vampire, but everybody on the inside's preoccupied. Ragnar certainly is. A suppressed PP Bison this late in the game. Let's see how effective it could be. Certainly good for one. Not going to be able to get the flush just yet. Gladiators do not want to risk it. Hope hopping around through the window. Can't quite land the shots. Ragnar looks for more, and he goes down, but not before dispatching Tiamba. Geekay stay alive, and Hope lives.
Geekay's only hope, really, remaining at this point in time. The Vampires have managed to get across. I think for Gladiators, it's probably a better decision to return to the 2-story and get that elevation to look down towards Vampires as they try to make it in. Schweppes is already down. Newsy in just completely open space. Osal, last remaining player other than Fabian now. 14 plus Kia. I take that back. He's gone. But the Vampires are still going, and from what was a really difficult position, timing and really well-coordinated pushes from them have taken them further in this game than they have any right to. And with the circle moving over towards the west and the reses coming through, perhaps this game actually can go back in the favor of Vampire.
They have the opportunity now. They've established the firing line. The smokes were burnt through on that train that we saw from Gladiators earlier. It's going to be hard to find those resources. A lot of crates should be littered around them. Hopefully they can find something. Hope has squeaked out a window. He's been spotted. And Vampire will not let that one go. Picking up another point there. 5 eliminations. Remember, Vampire right on the cusp of breaking the chicken dinner record here as well. If they're able to get just this one more.
It's been a crazy game here for Vampire because they have essentially tried to remain as patient as possible while still just taking some stabs here and there at the teams in the building, leaving them wounded and bleeding, which is the main thing for them. So they could never really retaliate onto this position above Kitsune. And 60 are both down, just 2 players remaining. Matic opens with one over towards Vampires. But right now, it's not looking like enough.
Crossfire from Ravenclaw out wide to try and slow Matic's roll. The bullets are landing, the shots are hitting, and Vampire shut the jaws on the camp that they've been able to find themselves. They move over the top in over-contested territory, through the fields, through the fire. And Matic now, the last barrier to their victory, to breaking the record here at PMWI. And the roll down is there, but not going to be able to land it just this time around. It will be good for a second. The spray is good. And Vampire return to form with a massive, dominant play over the field to